For this interview, I interviewed Annie Kuchenmeister about her and her siblings' band Loki's Folly. Enjoy! Hi, it's really nice to meet you. Can you tell me your name?
Yeah, I'm Annie Kuchenmeister.
So just to start pretty like basic, what artists are inspiring to you?
Yeah, so we pull a lot of inspiration from a lot of the classic local bands, like Soul Asylum, Replacements, Babes in Toyland, um, all of those kinds of vibes. But then we also kind of like to pull from, a little bit from all over, some, Björk and Oscar's favorite, I think, is Cat Stevens. So.
Yeah, that's like right. Well, because Soul Asylum, you worked with oh my gosh, what's his name? I wrote it down because I love Soul Asylum and I can never remember people's names. Uh,
Dave Perner.
yes, Dave
Yeah.
Print. Well, yeah, my mom used to work with Soul Asylum, so she got me onto their music for a while, and they're so good. But yes, I was gonna ask like, what's it like to work with these people that you really look up to?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just, I mean, when we first like got asked by Dave to play with them, to open for them, it was like mind-boggling. I mean, it was like ah, these are people we've looked up to for like ever, and to have them like want to do things with us is just like really inspiring, and it fills us with joy.
Yeah, no, it's like yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
amazing, and like um, I don't know, I just saw like what you guys have done, what you've accomplished, um, and like I don't know, I just think you're all siblings, so and there's a huge age range too, which I think is crazy. So it's like how did you get your name out there? Because I mean, Oscar's the youngest, and
Yeah.
he's 12, right?
12. Yep.
Yeah, that's like crazy. I mean, like, are you self-taught? What's the history there?
Yeah, yeah. So it started, me and Nissa were learning our respective instruments, learning at Twin Town with our teacher Ryan Smith, who is amazing. And it started with the two of us learning to play our instruments, and then we both really wanted to be in a band, so we were like, let's make our own band, and and the two of us will be the band. And so we started playing just as a two-piece and writing all of our songs together, and playing shows and opening for Soul Asylum, which was, amazing. And then during the pandemic, well, for starters, Oscar started learning to play the bass when he was 6, I believe. And he had started learning and was kind of not feeling it. And he was like, I don't think I'm ready to play the bass, but I think I should wait till I'm old enough, and I'll be old enough when I'm 9. So
Okay.
on his 9th birthday, he picked it back up and stayed committed to
Yeah.
to his statement, and learned to play the bass and joined the band.
So how old were you guys when you started before Oscar?
We started learning our instruments when I was 14, so Nissa would have been 9. And then our first show was on my 16th birthday, so she would have been
11?
11. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Wow, I mean that's really impressive. Like to be able to have done that and like I mean does I guess when I was like reading about you guys and listening to your music, I was thinking, I mean, what's it like I'm an only child, so I mean, what's it like working with your siblings and like how is that like on the daily like okay, we're doing this and you're the oldest, so kind of being the ringleader, I'm assuming. Like what does
Yeah,
that kind of entail?
the Wrangler.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it works out really well for us because we're all very close, and we have like a lot of the same interests, and then we've kind of built up really good communication over our, years of knowing each other, our entire lives. It kind of worked out really in our favor that we all like the same things, and then we all want to be in a band. And I think it gives us a nice little added familiarity with each other, and like we can really, if we're playing a song, we can kind of really just switch things over with each other whenever we need to, or it's like, oh, we're going into a chorus now, everybody. And it doesn't even need to be a ton of communication for that.
It's like everyone kind of knows what's going on and
Yeah.
That's so cool. All of your respective backgrounds are also super interesting because, I mean, two women, young women, and then a guy, and who's super young and like and neurodiverse situations as well. So like, what's it like kind of coming into it with all these different identities, I guess, and like, how does that kind of impact the way you write um, and like kind of put yourself out there, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially like the amount of perspectives we have and like the different experiences we've gone through, it definitely puts a unique perspective into the music, I think, and really gives it kind of a point of view that maybe you don't see as often in music in general and even in our genre especially too. And I think personally it's just really rewarding to get to share like my whole identity personally. I won't speak for the others, but I think they agree. That it's just exciting to get to like share that with people and kind of resonate with people across the board where maybe someone who never would have thought of, say, like my perspective as, but never thought about like what that feels like. I can like, communicate how I feel and they can go, oh wow, this is how you feel. I
I
hear
mean,
it because
no, because I just haven't. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of artists. I listen to a lot of music, and like, I think this is the first time that I've really like gotten to hear an artist talk about that, and like, I don't think that's something that really comes up. So I think that's super interesting, and also like, I mean, so besides Bjork, you also were talking about like artists you like, and a lot of them were guys, and that's really cool because they're all really good. But what
yeah.
is what's it like? Because those are like dudes, you know? So like, is there something like special or different that you think being like a woman in this industry kind of comes into?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, Nissa and I think we're just talking about like our uh our quote unquote, weird girl collection of like uh artists that we look up to that we're like, I want to be as out there and completely unique in myself as these women. I think our list was like PJ Harvey, Björk, Kate Bush, Tori Amos,
Yeah,
um, artists like that where it's just like they're so
totally.
good. It's
Yeah.
so inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, because I've been doing like a lot of thinking recently about what it's like to be a woman in the music industry. And like, I've spoken to a friend of mine who's also an artist, and she was talking about how there's so much lacking, or like
Yeah.
how hard it can be to kind of come into that. And like, I don't know, when I was listening to you guys, I was like, they're so young, like all of them are so young. And I wonder what the experience is like of coming into an industry that's really populated by like white cis guys as like a young woman, and how that kind of, has it been welcoming? Has it been like a good thing? Has it been like, what's been the experience, I guess?
Yeah. I guess I will say, I mean, definitely most situations we go into, whether it be like playing a show or recording in a studio, it's definitely like us and the guys. But luckily I think we've found like lots of people who are very supportive and I think kind of really works to try to find, the men and also other people who are like here for us and here to support us and kind of keep them close and anyone else.
Exactly. No,
So
I mean,
they're
that's when I read about you guys and like Dave Perner, I was like, oh, that's really cool because it's someone who sees them and it's like, no, this is like good. Because I think a lot of people, I just, I like to talk to young women in music because I think oftentimes they get overlooked. And so I was just like curious about that. Let me see what other question. I wrote down like a lot. And
yeah.
um, so I also wanted to ask you, oh yeah. Well, so this is more about like your albums, Sisu, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I want to make sure I pronounced it right. So obviously I saw that you started writing some of these songs in like 6 years ago or something, 2017. Has
Yeah.
the meaning shifted since you guys, I mean, I don't know if you can't speak for everybody else, but like for you at least, has it changed since
Yeah.
you've gotten older?
I think definitely with the songs, they've definitely like revealed to me like what emotions I was going through that caused me to write them. For some of the songs where I'm like, I wrote it and I felt it and I was like, this is the feeling I'm feeling. And then like the more we play with it and the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, this is the experience that went along with that, and I wasn't making the connection until later. So
Yeah.
that's definitely happened. As far as like meanings shifting though, I think a lot of them have stayed pretty similar to their original intention. Um, if not maybe, I don't know, maybe slightly.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, no, that's super cool. It's like you kind of get to reflect on how you are feeling, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, it's probably super interesting to be able to like reflect on, oh my God, me 6 years ago, this is what I was thinking, and this is how I felt as like that angsty, whatever
Yeah.
I was going through. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I thought that was super cool. And so some of them are more recent. Like, has there been like a through line in creating this album? Like, what's been kind of the force that has kept it in?
Yeah. Honestly, I think just our passion to keep doing things. I mean, it started with us playing like all covers and then throwing in one song that we wrote and then like wanting to keep doing it and being like, okay, we should learn how to write songs because I want to do that and I want to be able to play shows where I can play my own songs or our own songs. And so I think it's just been like this kind of slow, natural build of like, okay, how do we do the next step? And how do we do the next step? Starting with like, how do we write the next song? How do we write enough songs to have a set to play a show? Uh, how many songs can we write? And then what songs can we record? And what's going to work in a studio? And can we even get into a studio? And
Right.
slowly building that up
Oh,
until,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So it's like a collection of these years of working together. I mean, that's amazing. That's like so, honestly, that's so like wholesome, I want to say. 'Cause it's like
Yeah.
like growing together. And I think, I mean, even like listening to it, I feel like you can definitely hear a change in some of the songs.
Yeah.
And like, oh, there's definitely something else going on here, but it all works extremely well. That's why I was really curious if there was like anything that was like, oh, this theme that went on for 6 years or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's so amazing. And I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, I've been honestly just very impressed with everything because I don't know, it's like I know a lot of bands, and I just feel like it's very like, have you seen the Partridge Family?
Yeah.
It's very like that. It's like, so, but
Yep.
like cool and punk. Like I
Yeah.
think like, I don't know, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Bikini Kill and like that whole vibe. And I just thought it was very Riot Girl and like really awesome. Let me see
Yeah.
what else. Um, okay, yeah. So speaking of, I mean, a lot of these questions were just things that I've been thinking about that I was like, when I was listening to your music, I was like, oh, this came up for me. And when I was reading a bit, I was like, oh, this.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like, obviously you guys are more of like a punk, like rock band, which is super awesome.
Yeah.
And you think like, I guess I was thinking like, what is the value of having like young people doing like punk music now in a world where like that isn't something that's like in the mainstream, music list. And not that it was ever really mainstream, but like there was definitely a
Yeah.
point where it was a lot more
Yeah. Yeah.
expected, I guess.
Definitely. I think it's something that me and Nissa first, because Oscar was, a little baby, but we, got really into it I mean, we had started with like Green Day and My Chemical Romance, and we were like obsessed with those bands. We were like, they're so cool. And then our mom was like, oh, you like them, you should try the Replacements. And other bands like that. And so we kind of started this whole deep dive of like, older punk bands and
Yeah.
finding out about Bikini Kill and then like going on a deep expansion into Riot Girl and all the women in punk and going further back to like Patti Smith and people like that and X-Ray Specs too and just trying to find all this cool stuff. And I think it really connected with us because it's, at least to me, is a very expressive sort of genre that really lets you put your whole emotion into things. And I think that was something that we both felt like we were maybe lacking in our day-to-day lives where, I mean, as you know, like as women, you kind of tend to have your emotions kind of pushed down or pushed aside. And I think that was something that we were like, this is somewhere we can really just scream it out and be aggressive and put our feelings out there as harsh and raw as they are.
No, I love that. I mean, my friend and I, we've been I'm a senior in high school for the record,
Oh,
and we've been working on this thing we're in a production class,
yeah.
and we've been working on like a podcast for the class where we're producing it, and we're doing episodes about like feminism and women in music, which is why all this stuff has been on my mind so much.
Yeah.
So we did a whole episode about rage and like talking about music and why and like art in general and literature about like women letting it out and being, but it's not, but like people don't like that, people are really scared of women being angry because when women are angry something happens, and that's why I just thought you guys were so amazing because it's like they're doing something, and I think that's like a really amazing thing about punk too coming back as like a thing, and I thought,
Yeah.
I think you guys are really cool.
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. And like on that same theme, I think it's definitely a genre where you can kind of like take your own story and your own autonomy kind of back from the outside world and really like create your own message and your own identity where
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And like I think I mean, from what I heard and what I was reading, like a lot of your guys' songs get pretty political, but they're also like kind of funny. So I
Yeah.
have questions about that actually. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, like, can you just explain further about the politics of it? I just think that's so awesome, and like, because you said autonomy, and I was like, you totally talked about. There's so much stuff that I feel like you guys cover.
Yeah.
I just do want. Can you talk about like how humor kind of came into it and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think especially in recent years and like starting like as recently as like the 2016 or as far back as the 2016 presidential election, which I think, felt like the beginning of the
Yeah, no.
mess that's happening now. Um
Yeah.
uh kind of really it was just I mean, it's just all these just awful things you see every day happening in the world and just completely disheartening, but there's also a sort of like absurdity to it all and like I mean especially with some of these like right-wing politicians where they'll say
Yeah.
something it's like
You're like, what the like
you sound like a Monty Python skit or
that
something,
doesn't sound real. Yeah. Like some
Yeah,
like yeah.
yeah, definitely. So I think it was just kind of that combination of like the world is kind of falling apart, all these terrible things are happening, but it's really absurd. And you just kind of have to, I mean,
Have like fun with it in a
really,
weird
yeah,
way.
have fun with it and roll with it just to kind of get through the terror of it all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like dark humor, which
Yeah.
I loved. And but you guys are like so sweet with it. Like it's so fun, and you're like, oh, like I feel like anyone could listen to it. Like this isn't like,
Yeah.
oh, like I need to keep, whatever. It's like I could play this for people who are right wing and they probably wouldn't catch on to it, I guess, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But also like because there is just this pure joy, but at the same time, there's these tones and these comments that I think are so amazing, and you get through that and you are able to like it was so intelligently written. Like I just thought that was so awesome.
Thank you.
Um, so yeah, and like writing and collaborating, like do you do most of the writing? Is it a lot of collaborating? I saw that previously you guys all did it together, but like coming up
Yeah.
with ideas, like what's that like?
Yeah, it is like mostly collaborative. And even if it's me like bringing a finished song to some degree to the rest of the band, then it's them like, okay, we should change this, we should fix this, this is how the drums should go. Let's switch this around so it's this way and things like that. So I don't think there's any songs that are you could purely credit to one person. And like most of the songs on this album were written like me and Nissa down here in the basement. You know, with a laptop listening to, whatever we just discovered and was the most amazing thing in the entire world. And like had to show each other and then being like, this makes me think of this experience or this makes me think of that. Let's write a song about this emotion or this experience and kind of going from there, which
Yeah, that's super cool.
yeah,
So it's all pretty collaborative.
yeah.
I'm trying to like remember the next thing I was gonna ask because you said something else like, oh, I should ask about that. Um, I mean, oh shoot. Well, I mean, gosh. Okay. Hold on. I need to like let me check my questions because I had like ideas of things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I guess it's like when it comes to collaborating as a group, um, I mean, you kind of said that you're sort of the wrangler of the group. Has there been issues with the age range? Is there like
Huh?
anything like that? Or is it, I mean, also, I remember I was gonna ask. Oh my God. Okay. Um, like, well, that I did write that down because I was curious about that. But also, I mean, it's probably super cool to like collaborate together because we all know each other so well.
Yeah.
And what comes with like writing, like all being kind of on that same level, like knowing what you're looking for. Because I think it's very rare that I've seen collaborators or like musicians who are related. Like I
Yeah.
know musicians who are related, but they're not in the same band. And so I think, and they do completely different music. So it's like, it's how, what's it like to be like, oh, we both are on the same kind of level, and that. And also, does this age range mostly between you and Oscar in my mind, like, is that ever a thing? Is that ever something that is like, oh wow, it's a lot?
Yeah. Um, well, when it comes to like collaborating on music, I think we do just have like a very nice special connection that like maybe isn't the case with every sibling relationship, but since we have those similar interests and like similar directions that we want to take the music, I think that works out really well. And then also just having that like background of like, oh, we've always watched the same movies. We can reference back to, you remember that time, when you were 6 and we went to the park or something and it works out really well for
Yeah.
that. And especially because like if we ever do like have like a disagreement, like we can't stay mad at each other for long because we'll just see like each other tomorrow at breakfast and be like, hey, by the way.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to stay frustrated for long. But then yeah, like with me and Oscar, I mean that's yeah, 10 years between the two of us. Um so I guess definitely feel more mentory than, uh
Then like
like
we're working together, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And
yeah.
it's very fun though because he brings lots to the table and a
Yeah.
great like solid vibe. I feel like he kind of holds us down and keeps us in check sometimes with his, very cool attitude. Um, but yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Very
well,
fun.
it seems like a really good group and like good morale.
Yeah.
Because I think also it's like remembering that you're like, oh, like we're all related, and I mean, even having like such a age difference between you and Oscar, and like I could totally imagine like him being like, hey guys, you know, bring it back,
Yeah.
reset or whatever, because I think, when you're close in age, it's like, oh, this and this and this and this and this, and like I don't know. I think I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Guess also what I'm wondering is like, what's like next for you guys? You know, what's next in this moment? Like what's the next like step, and then what's the goal if there is one?
Yeah. I mean, we're working on the next album, getting that ready to go, which is always fun. And then hoping to tour with this one and kind of get out there a little bit, out of playing shows. And then I think also just in general, I mean, I think just keep going. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do, so I can't imagine not continuing with the band.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. That's so cool. So like, do you think if like everyone's kind of like this is gonna happen? Because I think, I mean, you guys are like I mean, you're legit. Like it's totally realistic, and like going on tour is totally a
Yeah,
thing you can do. I mean, it's not at all hard. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard, but like no, I don't imagine it being like
unachievable.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I mean, I think that's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. That's like my questions for you guys. I love the album. I mean, it's so good.
Thank-
And yeah, I'm so glad I got to talk to you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you so much.
amazing.
Thank you.